ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Today we're going to be unboxing, installing and reviewing a head unit from Seikane or Seikane. I'm not really sure how to say the name. Basically it's an aftermarket head unit and we're installing it in a Mazda CX-7. I'm pretty sure this exact unit will fit any Mazda CX-7 from 2009 to 2014. But just make sure you check the link in the description. It'll tell you what cars it fits and things like that. But basically it's an aftermarket head unit that's meant to fit exactly where the standard one does, but it's made to give you a whole bunch of new features like GPS, Bluetooth, Spotify, the internet, all that kind of stuff. It does run on Android, and so far they look pretty good. So the company actually reached out to me and asked if I would do a review on one for my car. My car's a BMW E39, so they actually found me through my video on the Enon head unit. But I told them that I was pretty happy with the one I already have, but if they want to send me out one for my partner's car, I'd be more than happy to review it for them. So they agreed, and as I said, her car's a Mazda CX-7. I think hers is a 2009 model, so what we're going to be doing is just quickly unboxing the unit, and then we're going to install it, then I'm going to review it at the end. So full disclosure, they did send me the unit for free, but I did have to pay shipping and I also paid for a camera. The fact that they gave it to me for that price, it's not going to sway my review. I'm still going to be 100% honest with you, because that's just what it's all about. So there will be a link in the description below if you do want to buy it. That will give you 5% off, and I think it will earn me a 5% commission or something as well. So if you want to do that and help me out, that's fine. But like I said, the review isn't going to change. If I don't like the unit, I'm going to say so. If I do like the unit, I'm going to say so also. So we're going to go through all of that now. I think that's about it. So let's get started with the unboxing. So when you open the box, you're going to see like a warranty conditions, and just a little letter, pretty much, I think, saying thank you for buying it and whatnot. Get rid of that. Under the foam, you first will see the actual head unit, but we'll get to that in a minute. I'll show you that in more detail. Down one side you're going to find this is the radio harness, and you're also going to find this is the CAN bus, so this is what makes your steering wheel controls work and all that stuff. Antenna plug. So yeah, basically I believe this side will plug into the head unit, the back of the new head unit, and this will plug into your old harness in your car. So pretty easy. You get a remote control, which I don't think anyone uses these days, but you get one, which is nice. So I bought a camera extra. This might not come with yours unless you buy the camera. That looks like a GPS antenna, so all your RCA leads and things like that. So if you want to use, you know, video out, video in, video in, auxiliary in, subwoofer, and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of good because it keeps the back of the head unit clean. If you're not going to use any of these, you don't have to plug any of them in. So this is the head unit here, that's the front of it. It actually looks really nice. The buttons feel very nice. They are very similar to the Enon units. I'm not sure if they're coming out of the same factory, but they are very similar. But yeah, the buttons feel really nice. The knobs have a really nice feel to them. This here is where your original hazard switch is going to go, or your, I'm not sure what you call it overseas, but in Australia we call it a hazard switch. So on here, make sure you remove this before you install the head unit. That's just to keep the CD tray from bouncing around in transport. There's the back of the unit, so this is where that harness, I believe, is going to plug. And then all these are those things I was talking about before. So if you want to use auxiliary in, you'll just have to plug in, you know, bank of cables here, which is nice. That looks like some kind of USB plug. That's a Wi-Fi antenna. So I think that's about it. There's where the GPS antenna will go, but we're going to get into more of this when we actually do the install. So I think that's it. We'll head to the car now and we'll start getting it installed. Just make sure you remove all the CDs out of the current head unit, because once it's disconnected from power, you won't be able to get those out easily. So we'll do that now, then we'll come back and I'll show you how to remove the silver part. Alright, so we're going to start removing this silver trim, and as I said, if you do have those plastic pry bars, then that's going to be the best, because you don't want to damage the trim. I'm going to have to use this really thin screwdriver, but I've had this off before, so I kind of know how it comes off. Like I said, there's that tab under there that you can start working on, like by pulling it up, but it's hard to get in there because it's, you know, you don't have a lot of room. So I'm just going to start somewhere around here and just gently insert the screwdriver between the silver and the actual car's dashboard, and just start prying it up and around. Alright, so as you can see, I just popped a fair decent part of the corner. Once you get a corner, you can probably just start to lever it up all the way around, gently. And maybe with the top, we might have to give that a bit of a pry as well. Just be really gentle because it's easy to damage this plastic. There we go. And if you're using a screwdriver, you should really be using a rag or something to stop the damage, but I'm a professional. Might be enough. There we go. So it'll feel like you're going to break it. It'll pop free like that. And that's it. So this piece you can put somewhere safe. Alright, so as you can see, this is the hazard switch I was talking about earlier. This does have to come off and we'll fit that to the new head unit, but we'll get the old head unit first. Just 4 Phillips head screws there. We'll start in the top left here. We'll start winding them out. Make sure you don't lose any screws, so keep them all in one place. Alright, so now we've got all 4 screws out. It's a bit hard to pull the head unit out, so what you want to do is you can see these little parts here. Just put a screwdriver behind them and just gently flick them out. Just like so. And then you should be able to... There you go. Now, it's not going to come all the way out because there are some cables that you do have to unplug behind the head unit. So we'll just change camera angle so I can show you this a little bit better. Alright, so here's that plug for that hazard switch I was talking about. It is actually screwed onto the head unit at the top here. And yeah, it runs down the head unit. But what we can do for now is just unplug that, just so we can free the old head unit. So you do that by pressing in a little tab here. Some of these clips are really fiddly, but so we've got that out now. Just remember where that went. You'll have an antenna, which we're going to unplug, sorry, just there. And then we'll have one more big loom, I think it's one more, big loom over down the back there. So usually you should be able to just grab that and there'll be a part like a pin you can squeeze in, which is at the bottom. Give it a wriggle, there we go. So now our head unit should be free. Alright, so what we're going to do now, this is still the old head unit. We're going to remove the hazard switch completely. So there's 2 screws there, it looks like 2 screws there. And then possibly we'll be unscrewing this little bracket here as well. I thought maybe this whole cage part here would be moving to the new head unit, but it doesn't look like it does because there are no holes up here and stuff for it. So what we're going to do is just remove these screws here, which I've already half done. Oops. And then this one, and then these 2. Alright guys, so this part is a bit of a pain. Once you have all the 4 screws removed from this part and it's loose, you'll still find that the hazard switch is connected. So I don't want to put a pusher back in to show you how to do it again, but basically what you have to do, it's very hard to see on my camera, I apologise, but you'll see it pushes into the red part. You just have to like pry up all the sides of the red parts. Pretend it's still in. You kind of have to just pry up that very carefully as you're pulling back on it, and try and get the bottom and the sides as well, and it will come out. So yeah, we're going to pull this completely out now. There we go. Actually, it's probably easy to show you out of the head unit. Like this. So that's how it sits on in the car, and it clips over these 2 bumps here. Yeah, you want to just pry up with a screwdriver very carefully on all 4 sides, or probably just the 2 sides. Yeah, top and bottom, and it will separate. So that's how you get the hazard switch out. So we'll get our Phillips head and just remove this. I'm not sure if we use this whole section on the new head unit or not. Maybe we just connect this, but we'll find out in a moment. But we'll just remove it for now. And there we go, hazard switch is completely removed. That's the back part of the switch, and the front part I've put down there. So now what we're going to do is move this onto the new head unit, and then we should be good to install it. Alright, so this is the old harness for the harness we'll be using for the hazard switch. As you can see, there's nowhere really to put it on the new head unit. So I think what we're expected to do is just take the take this plug off this metal harness thing, or I don't know what you'd call it, metal bracket. Take it off there, and then I'm guessing it probably just hangs down the back and plugs in, because there is nowhere to secure this. You know, they don't line up. So what we'll do now is remove this plug from the bracket. There we go. So you just bend that metal up a little bit, and yeah, so I think this is just going to hang back down the hang down the back of the new head unit, and we're not actually going to have a bracket anymore, so that's fine. Alright, and one very important thing to remember is take out the screws before installing. So remove these screws and this red thing. That just stops the CD tray from bouncing around in transport. Alright, so 2 Phillips heads, and that just comes out. That's just a piece of paper. And don't put the screws back in, we throw this away, or we'll just put it back in the box it came in. And that's how it should look. So now we're ready to install the hazard switch in this head unit, so let's see how that'll work. I believe it will be pretty much the same. So as you can see on the back here, turn it around for you. As you can see on the back, this is the hazard location, so this will push through. We'll use the original screws to hold the 2 on there. It looks like it doesn't get held on by the top at all, just in the front there, like that. So what I'll do, let's put the old switch, the front of the switch back in. So that's the front of our switch from before. So that pushes through. Now we can push our switch on, just like this. There we go. And then when we screw this back on, we'll have a working hazard switch, as you can see. Alright, so now we're just putting those two screws in, nice and easy. We'll just do one side, then the other side, and then tighten them both up. That's what it looks like from the front with the hazard switch installed. I think now what we're going to do is slide the head unit in, see how well it fits, see if everything plugs in, and we'll go from there. Alright, so this is that loom we spoke about during the unboxing. This will plug into the factory loom, so let's just see if that fits right now, because this is the only thing I was worried about. Alright, it looks like it does. I don't want to push it on yet. And this is the point where you need to decide what you're going to be using with the head unit, if you're going to have a subwoofer plugged in, or cameras and all that kind of stuff, because you will need to plug those in now. I'm just going to plug in the main loom and just see if it works first before I plug anything else in. So I'll plug in that hazard switch that we have hanging here, and I'll plug in this loom. So there's the antenna is part of that loom as well, by the looks of it. And this is the part that will plug into the back of the head unit. So we'll do that now. So that's nice and in there. Remember, you'll have a GPS and everything to install, or the antenna. You'll just have to put somewhere behind your dashboard, but we'll get to that. Plug that in. This is the antenna. Actually, I don't think we won't be using this. A lot of cars are going to be different depending where they're made in the world, but I think this is for different cars. We're going to use the factory one that was already in the car, and I think we should be able to plug that straight into the antenna port on the back of the radio there. So let's start by plugging this in. Try not to damage the new head unit. Try, hopefully these cables reach. Okay, that looks like it's in. So as of now we should have power, and I think the speakers and everything should work. But what I'll do, we'll just plug in our hazard switch, see if that works. It's like that. Nice. Yeah, so I think this is just going to end up hanging, and probably the wire will go through there and just drop down, I'm pretty sure. So the antenna just reaches, so we might have to just half install this head unit a little bit. So as of now we've got just the main harness in, which should be speakers, power, all the main stuff, our antenna, and our what's it called, the hazard switch. So it's pretty much, we've plugged in everything that we unplugged earlier. The other stuff we're going to plug in later, like the GPS. I just want to make sure the head unit does work before we go any further, and that it does actually fit in here as well, because that's the next problem. Alright, so what I'm finding is the head unit's not fitting because of this plastic at the bottom, so we might have to take out the climate control unit part here, pull that out, get this in first, and then this might have to go in after that. But before we get to that, we'll just turn on the ignition, see if the head unit turns on, does basically what it's supposed to, and then we can worry about installing. Now I did read somewhere on the internet that earlier model Mazda CX-7s, with a lot of aftermarket head units, you had to cut some sort of plastic. I don't know what plastic they're talking about, and I really hope it's not that, but we'll work that out in a minute. It's just turned on, and it's looking good. We've got power, obviously. Now, just for those wondering, this is supposed to support the Bose stereo 9-speaker or whatever it is stereo system, so just loading up. It might take a while to boot the very first time you do turn it on, so don't worry about that. That actually looks really nice. You can turn those beeps off and stuff like that. Let's see if the hazard switch works. Yep, hazards are working. So we just noticed something really awesome. So what I see, the screen up here, yours may look a little bit different on your CX-7. I've noticed some of them actually have a reverse camera type thing going on here, but for those with this screen, I just found out that with the radio, when you change channels, that actually still works, which is really awesome, because I was thinking this would just, I don't know, default to some weird setting or something. So yeah, that all works. The volume doesn't come up on there, but you don't really need it to. We'll just make sure that our climate control and stuff still comes up on the side of the screen as well. Yep. So it all still works as normal. Yep. That's really cool. So I don't know what happens when you're playing MP3s or anything else. That probably just says other or auxiliary or something. Alright guys, so this is the new head unit down the bottom and the old one up the top. As you can see, this peg here is very high up compared to where this one is. So that's what the issue is. So our only option really is to, over here, on the old head unit, those pegs went into these holes, which is right. But on the new head unit, those holes line up with these holes here. So those pegs line up with these holes here. So we're either going to have to make those holes bigger, or we're going to have to cut these off. I'm thinking I'm just going to cut them off, because it's held in by 4 screws, so I think that's going to be more than enough. And yeah, as you can see the difference. Let's try and get it kind of side by side there. You can see the difference in height of those pegs. One's bloody up here, one's halfway down there. So yeah, we'll either chop them off or make those holes bigger in the dash. I'm just going to have a think about it and weigh up the pros and cons of both, and then I'll let you know what I've done. Alright, so we just hacksawed those pegs off, and we've found another little issue, and I think I know what plastic they're talking about now that needed to be trimmed. I'll just show you. So with those pegs cut off, the unit does fit in there nicely, but there's a big gap in between here. So I think what we need to cut off, can you see that gap in there? Yep, alright, so I think what we need to cut off is these tabs here. So those little square tabs there on the head unit. So I think if we cut these off, then we'll clear that block there and it will just fit straight in. So I think that's the plastic that I was talking about. So you do have to cut the pegs off and them, or you can cut these off all in one go. If you have a Mazda CX-7 that is later, maybe after, I think it's after 2009, I don't think this will be a problem for you because they've designed the dash differently. But I did read before I bought this, before I got given this kind of thing, I did read that on the older models you would have to trim some plastic. I didn't know what plastic they're talking about, but I think now I know. So I'll just go and do that now. Alright, so that all fits nicely now. Now I'm going to show you what you need to cut off. So you just need to cut right up across here and up. So as you can see from the front here, it actually looks like it's meant to look like this. And you don't see any of this because the silver trim covers up to the side. So if you do hack a bit of this up, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, it looks like it fits now. So what I'm going to do is plug in everything that we need, the GPS and all that stuff, and then we'll should be ready to finalize the install. Alright, so we're just going to fit the climate control unit back in. I thought that maybe we could have got the unit in and this might have been in the way, but it's nothing really to do with that. It's because of those, because of that plastic we trimmed. So as you can see, the head unit will now sit in, just like that. Alright, so this right here is the GPS antenna. You'll have some double-sided tape on the back. This just screws into the back of the head unit, and then you need to find somewhere behind the dash where the antenna should go. The higher you can get it, the better, so obviously it gets a better signal. Alright, so this is where the GPS antenna screws into, just there. Alright, so I found a bit of a place that seems to be like it'll work okay. Just take our double-sided tape off. I'm going for, it's really hard to see, but it's basically around this area, but underneath the dash. So I'm going to try and get my hand up in there and stick it in there. Alright, so we've just plugged in the things we're going to be using with this head unit. So we've plugged in the USB cables. That's just them, they plug in the back there. And we've just ran them down there into the glove box, as you can see. So we can just plug in our USB sticks, or you can plug in your USB 3G modem, so you can use the internet on it. You can also tether your phone and things like that, so you don't really need to have a modem, but they're good to plug in USB sticks for music and whatnot. We're not going to be using the microphone that comes with the head unit for the Bluetooth. We're going to use the one that's on the unit on the front, because I've tried using those ones before. I'm not really a fan of them, they don't sound that good. So we're not going to install any of the camera stuff at the moment. It's a horrible day, we're going to do the camera another time. So all we're going to do now is get the head unit back in. It looks like we've got everything we need. So like we did before, a GPS antenna is also plugged in and ran back there. The cable's really long. So we're just going to plug in everything we had in before, and we should be ready to actually finalize this and get everything back together. Alright, so we're just going to put our head unit screws back in now, and hopefully they should pull the head unit into the dash nice and tight. And just don't do them all up tight, like one by one. Put them all in first, loosely, just so you know everything lines up. So I mean, just some little notes so far. As far as installation goes, it's actually really easy. Once you get past the cutting of that plastic, that's really easy to do anyway. It's just cut those whole corners off. But one thing I'll say is that if you do have a later model Mazda, it'll probably fit straight in, so you might not have this problem. Now, before we put all the trims back on, we're going to turn this on again, make sure everything we're going to be using works, the GPS, the USB sticks, everything, because you don't want to take it apart again. So, one thing we'll test quickly now is the steering wheel controls, because I didn't try them earlier, so we'll just put on some radio.
the competition. The My Kitchen Rules scandal erupts.
So that's the volume working perfectly. Mute works, and we'll try up and down channels. There's no presets in there, otherwise it'd work, but that's perfect. Mode, see what that does. Okay, so it just looks like it scrolls through different modes: music, video, AV in, radio, and yeah, so what I'm going to do now is just go through everything myself, and then we'll come back, fit it off, and then I'll do the review on the unit. Hope the installation was pretty easy. Alright, so the way it fits isn't the best. Just have a look here. The top seems to be sitting in really far. We actually had to loosen the screws of the head unit to get this trim back on, because it just seems like it either fits at the top. It doesn't really actually fit even at the top. If we tried to push this down as hard as we could, I took the head unit back out and tried to fit the head unit to the trim first, just to see if it fits. The top doesn't seem to want to go in. It just kind of keeps bouncing back out. I'm not sure if there's something else I was supposed to cut or anything. There isn't really any clear instructions on this, so I'm going to leave it like this. We're pretty happy with it. I mean, the bottom sits nicely, the sides sit pretty nicely. It's just that little lip on the top. It's no big deal. That actually looks okay, but I do wish it sat forward a bit more, so I'm not sure. Not sure why, but I guess, like I said, maybe the later models do fit a lot nicer than this. I've never seen one installed in a car before, so I'm not sure. Maybe they're just not the best when it comes to fitting them. But looks alright. We're going to leave it like that because I've been playing around with it for about half an hour now. We're not getting anywhere with it. So, alright, welcome back to, this is the actual review. So let's have a look at the unit. There is that gap I talked about earlier. Well, not gap, but it's like this won't go all the way down. I'm going to do some scouring around the internet, see what I can find. If there's a way I can fix this, I'll take it back out and do that. But I couldn't find a way, so it looks okay anyway. So one thing I'll say so far, installation was very easy. I mean, once you cut those tabs off and you know what you're doing, it is very easy. Everything plugs in nicely. It's just the fit and finish. Like, I don't know if I did it 100% correctly, but the fit and finish so far to me, it isn't perfect. But let's just run through some of the options on the actual radio. It's all running now, obviously. So, got a power and volume up to the top here. That's to tune the radio. You got a home button here which returns to this screen here, a back button. So if you're familiar with Android, you'll be familiar with most of this stuff. Shortcut button to your navigation. GPS card goes in here, but you don't need it because the unit actually does have flash storage on it. So the GPS software is, if you buy it, it should come with GPS software on it, which I'll show you in a moment. Over here you've got the SD card slot, so you can pack one in here with some music. Right now we've just got some music in there. Got a mute button, disc button, which changes the unit to start playing your CDs, which works great. We've already played with some CDs. And then you've got the eject, of course. Hazard switch works nicely in there. That's obviously the factory hazard switch we've moved into the new unit. So let's just show you the radio first. So you can either press here or press the radio. And that all works nicely. We just set some presets already. So to set presets, you literally just hold your finger down. So we'll do that now as a demo. Actually, I don't think we'll be able to because we've already got some set. But you pretty much just hold down the preset and it will save it. Yeah, so it does have the radio station name and the song that's now playing, which is really cool. That all works really, really nicely. You can even just do this to find your station. Yeah, very happy with that. Radio works perfectly. Steering wheel controls work perfectly. Both for volume and for changing tracks or channels. And you got a lot more storage as well for the radio. But yeah, so really happy with the way radio works. The sound quality, I think it's probably about the same as the original head unit, maybe a bit better. I'm not sure, it's hard to tell. But yeah, sound quality is still pretty good. So if you want to go back to the home menu, do something else, you can press that, and the radio will still play no matter what you do, unless you select another audio source. Let me show you the navigation quickly. So tap there. When you first turn the head unit on and you press navigation, it will ask you what app you want to use for navigation. You can choose Google Maps or iGo. If iGo is installed on your head unit, it was already installed on this, so that was good. Unfortunate thing about Google Maps is it does use data, whereas iGo doesn't. It's all the maps are stored on the unit. Yeah, so this works really, really well. It found the GPS straight away. You put your destination in. Everything works really, really nicely on the GPS. So one thing we did have to do is whenever the navigation had like an audio input, so it was telling you to turn left or right, it would cut the music completely. So I'll just quickly show you how to get rid of that. Just go to settings, go down to navigation, And then in here you've got navigation sound mode. This was on switch, but just push that to mixing and it will mix the navigator's voice in with your radio, so it'll just drop the radio volume a little bit and you'll hear the navigation, so that's really nice. Nothing to fault with the navigation, it worked perfectly from our testing. Bluetooth works pretty well. The audio quality back and forth between calls is pretty good. You got your phone book in there, which I don't want to show you because there's some private numbers in there, but that all works good. The phone syncs straight away. To play your audio through Bluetooth, I couldn't find a way to do it through here. So what you have to do is scroll across to A2DP, and this allows you to play the songs that are on your phone through the Bluetooth, but there's no phone, or there's a phone connected but it doesn't have, oh, it does have music on it. This is the free music I think U2 sent to all the iPhone users. But yeah, so it works pretty nicely. That's audio through the Bluetooth. It's a little bit weird because on my head unit, which is an Aeon, when you're in the Bluetooth mode here, it's got another button down here for like music, which it'd be nice if this had, because it's a bit confusing to have to go out of here and into that A2DP option there. Got some other apps on here, obviously the radio. Music will just play anything that's on an SD card or a USB stick or stored on the device. Oops, what did I just do? Back there. Back is what I meant to do. Oh, I keep doing that. Wrong one. Music. That's a shortcut. So there's a music app there and there's a music app there. They're the same. They're just basically shortcuts. This is what I was looking for here. So this is where you will choose your source for where your music came from. We've got an SD card in here with some music. So if you tap that one, it'll show up the list of songs that are on the SD card. Takes a bit of time to load them, but it does work. Here we go. So let's just hit one. And that plays. You can scan through the song. I thought you could. Yeah, there you go. That works nicely. You can press the home button at any time and music will just keep playing. So if you just want to see your clock or do something else, go to navigation or something, that all still works nicely. One thing that I really like is, let's just go back to the radio. I didn't know what was going to happen when we installed this head unit. I didn't know what was going to happen with the original the red LED screen, not LED, LCD, whatever it is, screen up here. But it's really nice. When you change the channels on the head unit, it also changes up there. When you go to, let's just go to music, it'll just say music and it will actually show you the timestamp of the music playing, which is really cool. I thought that would just say auxiliary or something or stay blank, but it's really nice that that little screen up there still shows you something. What else did it show you? It's got a clock obviously on the screen there. I'm pretty sure you can set wallpapers and all that stuff. If you install a reverse cam, that'll all work. When you turn the headlights on in the car, we'll show you that quickly now. There you go. You can see it all lights up, and it's very nicely matching the factory Mazda orange there too. You can also choose your own colors for them as well in the settings, but I'll probably leave them on the factory Mazda orange because it looks nice. When the headlights do turn off, obviously this backlighting will turn off and the screen will be brighter. So when you turn your headlights on, the screen dims, so it's not as annoying. There you go. They're just turned off, and the screen would have dimmed. Just so it's not annoying on your eyes. The little shortcut button up here, just that one there, it's like a screen with an X in it, that'll turn the screen off. So if you're driving and it's a bit bright, you can turn the screen off. And if it's anything like my Aeon unit and Android in general, you can adjust the brightness of the screen yourself, which is nice. So I'm just going to show you how the Bluetooth or what comes up on the screen if someone is calling you. So I'll just call the phone that this is connected to now. See what pops up on the screen and everything. There you go. So yeah, that works really well. You can hang up or pick up, obviously. I don't know what that does.
Freeway.
Oh, okay, that just minimizes it. But yeah, all that works really nicely. What else? Yeah, I don't know. Everything, I think we've gone through most things. I mean, yeah, it's Android, so you can download pretty much any app you want off the Android Google Play Store. So if you want Spotify, all that stuff. We haven't really tried the internet with it, but or we did try it a bit earlier, and it works perfectly. But we don't have a USB dongle with the internet plugged in. We just connected to the Wi-Fi of the house that we're next to, and everything seemed to work really nice. So if you want the internet, you can just, we ran these into the glove box earlier. You can just plug a 3G modem into this, or you can use your phone as a hotspot, and you can play music from Spotify and all that stuff. So I think that's about it. it's just, yeah, so far we're really happy with it. The only thing I'm not happy with 100% is the finish, as I mentioned before, but the way it works, it's very smooth. It hasn't lagged, it hasn't locked up, you know, everything's worked perfectly. Oh, we did try the easy connection before, which is like mirroring. It didn't seem to want to work very well with the iPhone. It kept disconnecting, but I'm sure it'll work better with an Android, because Android and Android just seem to work better with each other all the time. I think that's really it. Yeah, like I said, you can download any app you like from the Play Store, so if there's something you like, Spotify, YouTube, as long as you've got internet access, that'll all work. Yeah, really happy with the unit. I would recommend it. It's just the fit and finish is the only thing, like, I'm not 100% happy with, but I don't think I did anything wrong. The screws all went back in where they were supposed to. It's just that, yeah, the top part just, it looks like it needs to sit up a bit. We even tried to keep the screws loose and then pull the head unit in towards the panel, but it just doesn't want to, it's just something in the way of this passing that part. So, like I said, I'm going to do some more research on Google, see if anyone else has installed these before and how they got around that. Maybe if you do have the later model Mazda CX-7, it'll fit in perfectly, because as you know, we had to cut those little tabs out and things like that. Maybe on a newer model you don't have to do anything, maybe it fits in beautifully, but like I said, I'm going to do some research, see if there's a way that I can get this to sit a little bit better, because that really is my only problem with this head unit. Other than that, everything works good, sound quality is good, the touchscreen feels really nice, it's very responsive. It's got an Apple style, you probably noticed it's got very Apple style icons, even though it is Android. Yeah, so overall, extremely happy with it. I would recommend it, even though, like I said, the fit isn't perfect. I may have done something wrong, there might be another method to get this fitting better, but overall, the actual functionality of the unit is awesome, because now you've got navigation, you've got your Bluetooth, internet, it's just got everything. So you've really brought the car into the future, so to speak. So, alright, so as you can see, just wanted to show you really quickly at night time how well the colours match the factory dash and little screen up there. Looks perfect. As for this mounting, this gap here, I think I know what the problem is. Well, it's not really the problem, it's just the model of this car. So some of the dashboards, or this little trim part on different Mazdas, even of the same year, I've noticed some of them have, instead of these kind of dials, they've got like those kind of a little bit more old school type dials, and this part here doesn't stick out as much on those. It actually sits flush, like back further, so I think that's the reason it's not fitting perfectly. I don't think we're ever going to be able to get this to fit perfectly. I just think it's for those cars that have the different trim, different knobs, a little bit of a different dashboard. So I don't know if that's a country specific thing or what the deal is with that, but yeah, this is a Series 1 Mazda. I figured they'd all be the same, but obviously there are different trims and dashboards. If I remember, I'll put a photo up of the trim I'm talking about, the other version of the trim, and this should fit perfectly in that. But this is how it fits with if you have a dashboard that looks like this. Anyway, one other thing I forgot to mention is just how sharp and really nice the screen is. It's not going to come through on the video, you know, as nice as it actually looks, but it's very sharp, which is really nice. Yes, I think that's it. Just last things I wanted to mention is how well the orange matches the car interior, how sharp the screen is, and the reason why I think this doesn't fit, and probably will never fit perfectly. I think that's the reason why, but if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments below. I haven't seen really anyone else install the Cycane or Cycane unit, so I didn't really know, you know, what other people's experiences were with them. But that's it. Thanks for watching.